All right, let's get into the Crapture on another level and RFK and the Make America Healthy Again. And this is another way that Hellfire is breaking open. And this is going to bring in an RFID system to the tracking of the buying and selling, as far as being able to go back and see what's actually in the food you're eating or where your food came from and those types of things. And this is going to be making a world local and a world united in another way. But as these things play out and as we're going into this new heaven and earth, we have to come, as we're in the days of Noah, where everything is corrupt, okay? And why are we corrupt? Because we have the love of money, which is also tied to the root of evil. So that evil, the EV, is connected to your Elon Musk, who makes his money doing electric vehicles, but he's rich in the petrodollar. The petrodollar is going out, and you have electric gold, crypto coming in, okay? And Bitcoin is tied to the Dow in the old system, and that's why it's up, because it's taking the hit. Instead of making actual physical gold $100,000, they're taking it and making it Bitcoin. And since we're going into new heaven and earth, a spiritual zone or whatever, the carnal people who want the physical gold or want the physical stuff are going to be going on this bridge, okay? And it's a bridge from one to the other. They're not going to wait on long enough, or they're it's just to where it's set up to where they have you going into this old age, and then the new age is breaking open. But the new age is given to you in a window, in a sense, and that window is filled with boo-boos and naughties and nices and such, and those have been put out to you by decades and decades and such. And it's all started with etiquette. Do you have the right etiquette? Are you eating with your elbows on the table and all this other garbage? Okay, and this is why Jesus, it's allegory and parable, but he tells you to hate your parents. Okay, go back and read. It tells you very clearly. But if this was literal, you see the church, but they don't read that part in church. They don't teach on that part. Okay, but if you did, they'd have to say, you go and hate your parents. You repent, you don't love your parents, you hate your parents. Don't ever go to their house again. Okay? That's what they would be teaching. But it's more like, hey, my parents raised me to brush my teeth with this Colgate that says, call poison control on it if I have over a pea size. And so, I mean, it's right there in front of you. But these are just little things, because the parents now, especially with the image that's been given life through the TV and all these things going on, it's just blind leading the blind. Yeah, I mean, you see the lines for Chick-fil-A, for Taco Bueno, for, well, they don't have many lines anymore, but you know what I mean. The people have consumed all the Mexi dips and chips. Now that's all grown inside of them, and now it's all going to come into fruits down at the border, okay, or up at the border with Canada. And that's a flip and flop too, is where we're being shown the southern border, but it's the northern border that can serve as a little issue, okay, with the army of the north. And Trump is part of that king of the south. So the hydroponic gardens you have going on ties to the hanging gardens of Babylon. And all these so-called hydroponic gardens are using bottled nutrients, and it doesn't matter if the bottled nutrient says organic on it or not. They have to have some form of non-organic material in there to keep it stable, okay? How do I know this? Because I have smoked out with Kyle Cushman, who used to own Vega Matrix. And he told me about his organic line, and he told me about the organic nutrients and what it needed, and why their product was the most organic. And he said it was 90% organic, which was the most organic on the market. And it's because they have to use at least 10% of stabilizer in there, which is non-organic, and it has heavy metals and those types of things. So I'm going to do another little tidbit on that, on the cannabis stuff and those tie-ins or whatever. But basically, cannabis is a $1 billion industry. now, and it is used for the new heaven and earth setting up, and it's a tree of life and a tree of knowledge of good and evil that is here for the healing of nations. And as it's the healing of nations, you have this rain coming in, this leash being pulled back on this Lady Liberty, on this light, in a matter of speaking, and another leash is going to be put on this dog, and that's where you got the EGOD, the doggy, being put in, and that's how the leash coming in, and you're putting in, grabbing that dog's leash, and you're grabbing it and taking off the old leash, putting it down, that's the old age, and then you put the new leash on, okay? So that's where you have the left to the right, or the right to the left, depending what the dog is, and then the dog is the God, and this is where God is switching, where that covenant is going from one to the other, and those types of things. So we're like this, so as they're showing, we're going into an extreme, tight kind of thing. It's actually, we're in a point that's to bring in the corruption of the Noah, of the corporations and such, and then it's going to expand back out. Okay, and then that dog is going to, that's where you have like the gates and the crate, and that's where you just got this new puppy, and you have to train it, and you have to crate train it and all that, and that's where, are you going to be an inside dog or an outside dog? Because they get trained different ways, and some get clipped, some don't get clipped. If you're inside, you normally clip so you don't mark the house up and all those types of things. So that's where you're getting behind the gates and behind the cage and those types of things. And then the jobs, the apple can be also the ball, where you throw fetch with the dog and have fun and all those types of things, where you have some freedom. And the other one's going into bound and have to be taught how to live again in the new world, because they're just going, it's just a fucking puppy tearing up the fucking house. Okay? You leave, you wake up. What did you do when I was sleeping? You can't sleep in the bed anymore. And that's another test on man too, because we're bringing these beasts, these animals, into your bed. Okay? And all this is going to play out in the future. Alright? It tells you don't lay with the beast. They teach it to you in a carnal aspect. But it's actually, it's all going to mound on top of each other. But this can be where getting local and knowing your farmer is done like on a local level, and then it's going to go to a world level as we unite and become one world and one hive and whatever, and we see this building up now. But the Terminator and Jetsons and such, this is when you need the Terminator side to take care of what just happened, and then once that's all under control, then you go out and start blossoming. Okay. Either way, that's a whole nother rabbit trail. The seed to sell is basically going to go hand in hand with the Dogi system, where they can come in and just kind of change things overnight, and then like you have this agency here, and then the agency's gone, and that's part of draining the swamp and all those other things. So this is where Don, or King John, needs the second coming to come and do what he needs to do to set up Baron for that last Trump scenario. But also King John, there's King John on one side, and then Little John on the other side, which ties to Robin Hood. So it's two levels of John that he's playing in. It's the King and the Little. It's the John and John. And that's where you have two lights being shown, where he's doing one and the other, the capstone and the cornerstone. All right, so we'll end it here, folks.